Hi, my name is Sophia Cartagena, and the book I decided to read was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Kesey. I chose this book because I wanted to learn more about institutional processes and how they can affect behaviorism. I also wanted to learn more about the complexity of the human mind and how society influences people. This book takes place in a psychiatric hospital. For the majority of this novel, Bromden, who's a patient at the psychiatric hospital, introduces us to McMurphy, who's a newly admitted patient. And throughout the novel, they form a not-so-typical friendship. McMurphy soon becomes aware of the institution's hierarchy system that's controlled by the head nurse, Miss Ratched. And according to Bromden, this psych ward is broken up into two distinct classifications of patients. There are acutes and there are chronics, which reflect social order throughout the isolated community. And I believe that this relays the main thesis for the novel regarding society's influence over people and how institutional processes can affect behaviorism. So, when we are introduced to McMurphy, the reader can tell that this character is going to cause some chaos throughout the psych ward. McMurphy's character challenges Ratched's authority, and she even calls him the manipulator. The term manipulator in this case is a patient planning to take over. And she says that McMurphy's a man who will use everyone and everything to his own ends. So this statement by Nurse Ratched is very important throughout the plot line because McMurphy's presence on the ward threatens Ratched's authority over the other patients. Throughout the novel, McMurphy rebels against Nurse Ratched, and he kind of ignites the same fire within the other ward patients. He becomes the driving force for the start of the rebellion throughout the ward, and he tries to figure out how to get under Nurse Ratched's skin without being sent to electroshock therapy, going under a lobotomy operation, or without getting sent to the disturbed ward. McMurphy refuses to swallow his pride, and he abides by the rules until Harding, another ward patient, informs him that there is a difference between being a voluntary patient and a committed patient. Harding says that McMurphy shouldn't get on Nurse Ratched's nerves because she evidently is the one who is going to be signing his release papers. So the fact that there are only a handful of committed patients, and since most patients are voluntary, this piece of information is very important, and it'll be more important towards the end of the novel. So those ward patients who are not committed and are voluntary, according to McMurphy, don't have the guts or confidence to leave the ward and re-enter society. So on another note, a major turning point occurs after McMurphy organizes a fishing trip with a few other patients, and he actually manages to get permission from a doctor, and McMurphy is able to persuade him to accompany them on the trip. This fishing trip somehow manages not to get cancelled by Nurse Ratched, and long story short, everyone who went on the trip needs to answer to Nurse Ratched after the police get involved with an incident that occurred. So this event causes the next affair to ensue when McMurphy and Bromden brawl in the showers with Nurse Ratched's orderlies, and as a result of their actions, they are sent to the disturbed ward, where patients who act out receive electroshock therapy, sometimes undergo lobotomy operations, and after being sent to disturbed, a downward spiral occurs. McMurphy continues to receive electroshock therapy even after Bromden is sent back to Nurse Ratched's ward. He decides that he has had enough of Nurse Ratched and the psych hospital. He devises an escape plan and decides to have one last night of fun before the big escape. This party doesn't go as planned, and Bromden realizes that the repercussions they are about to face are inevitable. This event, however, is the last straw for Nurse Ratched. She even threatens a patient named Billy, who, as a result, commits suicide. Even after this event, McMurphy still refuses to give in to Nurse Ratched, and, after attempting to strangle her, receives a lobotomy and returns to the ward as what the ward patients call a vegetable. So lastly, seeing McMurphy in this vegetative state and seeing the other patients check themselves out of the psych hospital, Bromden is pushed to his breaking point, which prompts him to suffocate McMurphy while he sleeps. In Bromden's eyes, he's easing McMurphy's pain, and Bromden somehow manages to escape the ward. After reading this novel, I've learned how great an impact society has on us and how it influences our decisions. Also, I've learned to use the terms crazy and insane lightly and to question what society deems as crazy or insane. I've also learned that the definition of crazy or insane can vary from person to person, so I'm interested in researching different cases where a person has pled mental insanity in a court case. Overall, I do believe that this book was interesting, and it did spark my interest. However, at times it could be slightly confusing because Bromden was deemed as an unreliable narrator due to his inability to divorce the truth from reality. But despite that slight confusion, I was able to accomplish my goals by reading this novel, and I would definitely recommend this book for those who enjoy drama and over-the-top storylines.